So I promised I would share more about punishment and the effects of previous learning history on future decision making and future behaviors. And it's interesting because I've just had a conversation with someone about attachment theory and the behavior analyst viewpoint of attachment is based on that idea that early attachments with people are based on reinforcement and outcomes. So a baby cries and gets cuddled, an appropriate attachment is formed. A lot of our early attachment issues impact later on in our life because they are not useful attachments and they're not stable for us to therefore grow and expand from. And often certain behaviors are punished. And an example of that is this idea that grew out of, and I can't remember, the sort of a tough love approach. You have to leave a baby to cry. And you are punishing the child's crying behavior supposedly by ignoring it, and there's a lot of debate around this, but the idea is that the baby has no way of asking or requesting for connection and love and cries. Mother responds appropriately, nurtures the child, father responds appropriately, whatever, and the baby learns that their needs are met even when they're in distress. And of course, there's a fine line between responding to tantrums and all stuff like that. But we have to start looking at this more critically and more contextually, rather than just making random statements that you ignore a crying baby. Context is everything. Now, going back to the idea of previous experiences that we have had that have been punished, and then we try and have that experience again, or we never have that experience again because we remember the punishment. An example that I've heard of with friends, for example, is in the area of forming a relationship or investing money. So they invest money in a project, they invest money in the stock market, they invest money in a house, they invest money in whatever. They lose that money, and then the statement that follows that loss is, I am never doing that again. Now, while in the moment that might be completely understandable, it is not necessarily a useful strategy because it cuts us off completely from learning anything from that experience. And those people that make mistakes, learn from them, and make changes and grow and expand as a result of that loss, that punishment, the ones that are going to eventually find a way to successfully invest in a relationship, to successfully invest in a business. And unfortunately, what we tend to do is we do these blanket statements. We get burnt once and that's it. And yes, that's appropriate when we're touching a stove. We learn that stoves are hot. We don't touch stoves. Great context. But money in relationships and those sort of investments, context is important. How much money did we invest? Who did we invest that money with? What was our partner like that we chose, that we invested our time with when the relationship went sour? Maybe we can change that. We don't look at a stove and say it's going to be not hot when it's hot. It's either on or it's off. And I think this idea of considering context, considering as well our growth over time. We are no longer that person who made that choice, that investment 10 years ago. We've got more information. We've expanded. Maybe we need to behave differently. Maybe we need to learn from the punishing consequence rather than allowing it to stop that behavior completely. So punishment plays a huge role in future decision making. And don't underestimate it when you are struggling with a decision. Is it really that you're struggling with a decision, or is it the fact that previously decision making has had punishing consequences? And this type of approach to life is far more likely to enable you to be solution focused, as opposed to get caught up in the what's wrong with me, what have I done wrong, I can't ever make decisions, everything I do turns to custard. We have to start looking at context. We have to start looking at what we did in the past does not necessarily have to be repeated in the future. We need to think that that strategy, that approach worked then. Things have changed. You're no longer the same person. You are now in a new situation. Can you shift and can you use a new, more relevant, more updated approach to the situation you're in now? And when we're making life decisions, as I'm always saying with my clients, don't forget to come back to what's important to you, those values. It's not just about what's going to come out of this one decision. Is this decision grounded and aligned with your values? The job that you're taking, the person that you're connecting with. Can you relate to their values? Can you connect to them on a deeper level? And challenge yourself to assess your decisions based on your values. And I just flicked my values exercise to a young client of mine to revisit, because your values can shift over time. People don't like to acknowledge that, but things do change. We change and we expand. And maybe it's not entirely your value that has shifted, but just the word that sums it up. There's a big difference for some people, for example, between truth and being honest. And yet others see truth and honesty tied in together. So maybe you need to just think, which word sums up my values? And I have a list of 200 to choose from. But getting clear on what you actually stand for is going to stand you in really good stead for making powerful decisions. And finally, coming back to those 3 core pillars that I talked about in my recent workshop on making powerful decisions, were those connection, collaboration, and community. Connection. What type of connection? What does connection mean to you? What do you want to get from this connection? What are your expectations? If it's a job, if it's a person, if it's a location, if it's a life-changing desire of yours, what's it going to enable you to do in terms of connection? Collaboration. Are you going to be able to work in a way that is aligned with your values? Are you going to be mixing with people who are aligned with your values? Are you going to feel safe and able to be yourself? And then finally, that community, that idea of being able to grow and expand within a group of people where you feel valued, where you feel that you are contributing, and where you feel able to be you. So, punishment. It can impact us long after the initial event. Be honest with yourself, reflect on it. Are you struggling because of something that's happened in the past that is now reducing your ability to make effective decisions? Be great to hear your thoughts. Bye for now.